happen at 1:17 GMT, and currently we're nearing 8:30 GMT, so it's been a couple of hours, but we're still in phase one of search and rescue operations, and authorities are still trying to analyze and understand the extent of damage that has been done. And I think as time passes and they get a better understanding of the extent of damage, they'll kind of figure out what more they might need and the assistance that they will go on to accept from their international partners. What has been offered so far, Claire?
Well, as I say, it's things like heavy equipment, medical aid, ready to eat food. That's the kind of assistance that's been offered, and the rest, and also human assistance. Teams of rescuers who are on their way. Teams from the Netherlands and from Romania, the European Union says, have already started to travel to make their way. There's also the issue of access. Airports have been closed. Well, they have heavy infrastructure will have to come in by road and by other means. And I think as this goes on, as time goes on, the situation's only getting worse because, as you've seen, the numbers of people reported dead increased rapidly in the several hours since the news of this happened at just after 4 a.m. local time, 1 a.m. GMT. So it's a case of getting in medical assistance and equipment into these damaged areas. Getting it into the provinces in the southeast of Turkey is one thing, but getting into northern Syria is another logistical challenge. I mean, for negotiating for access to these parts of northern Syria where people are displaced already and living in substandard accommodation, much of which is just pancakes around them. And you have, it's February, it's winter in this part of the world. Mm-hmm. So you've now got the weather low in Aleppo today is to be 2 degrees Celsius. It's close to freezing down there in the north of Syria. And so that's another challenge. How do you keep people alive? People who have survived now have a challenge of keeping those people alive. So it's a very, very complicated effort, and it requires significant international assistance.
Right, and the latest update we got on the death toll was from the Vice President of Turkey, Fuat Oktay, saying that at least 284 people have died so far in Turkey alone due to the magnitude 7.4 earthquake that struck Kahramanmaraş, the epicenter of the earthquake, at around 1:17 GMT on Monday morning. We also do understand that Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is making his way to the Emergency Disaster and Relief Agency, AFAD headquarters, to kind of coordinate all the operations that are currently being conducted in regards to this earthquake, whether that be search and rescue operations and others. Now, if you're just joining us here on TRT World, we are covering a devastating 7.4 magnitude earthquake that has hit southern Turkey and northern Syria. The epicenter was just east of Gaziantep. Here's what we know so far. Millions of homes and offices started shaking at 4 o'clock in the morning across the region. That's 4 o'clock local time, so around 1:17 GMT. People rushed into the streets and started to try and dig out their neighbors trapped under the rubble as rescue authorities arrived. The shaking also hit across the border in Syria, bringing down buildings that have already endured years of bombing. Civil defense teams are searching for survivors in the cities of Idlib and Aleppo. The earthquake has left a trail of destruction across hundreds of kilometers of Turkish and Syrian territory amid deep cold and snowy conditions. Turkey's death toll is now at least 284, and Syria's death toll stands at over 400. The full scale of the destruction may not be clear for days. Mehmet Çelik joins us now live from Istanbul. He's the managing editor of Daily Sabah. Thank you so much for being with us on the program, Mehmet. It's hard to talk about this particular situation because we woke up to such devastating news for Turkey. Just give us a sense of the search and rescue operations that are currently underway.
Well, I would like to start with offering my condolences to those who are affected and to the whole nation and neighboring countries. With Syria also suffering a lot from this situation. rescue and search and rescue efforts have been mobilized. Literally, the whole state has been mobilized for this tragic event. The state institutions, all the ministries are all on duty at the moment. They have been dispatched to the region. President Erdogan himself is on his way to the Afad headquarters. And we know that, Turkey is an earthquake-prone country. However, and has experiences in dealing with these tragic events. But the fact that the region is very wide and the scope is very large, I think makes it a little bit more difficult to carry out these search and rescue efforts. And the fact that some of the infrastructure has been also affected, in addition to the severe weather conditions that Turkey has been experiencing in the recent days. I mean, some of the provinces it's snowing. It is below zero temperatures at the moment. So all these, of course, make the whole search and rescue efforts more difficult. However, from A to Z, all the institutions, from municipalities to Red Crescent, to emergency and disaster management, to ministers, everyone has been have been dispatched to help these search and rescue efforts, but also civil society has also been mobilized. I think that's one thing that we need to underline as well. The NGOs as well have been part of these rescue operations.
Right, the civil society were the first responders, and they're continuing to help with the search and rescue operations that have been well underway for hours now. You mentioned various ministries that have been dispatched to help with the search and rescue operations, and I just want to add to that because I do know that the health minister, along with the interior minister, Süleyman Soylu, and Fahrettin Koca, they're both in Kahramanmaraş, the epicenter of where this earthquake took place. We also do understand that the Youth and Sports Minister, Mehmet Muharrem Kasapoğlu, he is in Osmaniye. The Minister of Environment, Urbanization and Climate Change, Murat Kurum, he's in Gaziantep, a province that has been heavily hit by this earthquake, with the aftershocks really causing extensive damage there. A lot of help being sent to the region, the southeastern region of Turkey. We're also hearing warnings being made. Mehmet, just give us a sense of the warnings that the various ministries are making to both the general public and the people who are on the ground facing the destruction.
Anything from making sure that the roads are clear so that the search and rescue operations are not affected negatively, to spreading disinformation through social media. There's a lot that can contribute to this tragic event negatively. I think the ministries and communications directorate and other ministries have been at work to minimize obstacles to search and rescue operations, as well as creating panic and fear in the eyes of people through disinformation. At times like this, many unfortunately ill-motivated come out and exploit these tragic incidents for their own agenda. And I think what people should be doing is to follow closely the official announcement and official information to minimize that negative effect, as part of this whole disaster management process.
Right, and looking back to 1999, where that magnitude 7.6 earthquake had taken place. This is the second earthquake of this magnitude to take place since 1999. The 1999 one took place in Istanbul. If you can compare the two, what would you say has changed over the years?
Well, indeed, I think the 1999, was a terrible experience that the country had faced at the time. But many things have changed since then, particularly with regards to the safety codes and construction codes and regulations. However, can we say that this is enough? I think the several earthquakes following the 1999 earthquake show that awareness is not 100% on par with the required regulations and safety codes. Hence why we see some, huge numbers of the buildings being collapsed. So that regulation and the safety code has changed significantly, and many buildings that were built following this regulation and safety code have survived in some of the provinces experiencing earthquakes following the 1999 earthquake. So that that awareness has changed, but it has unfortunately not been enough to making sure that the loopholes are not being exploited, and they're not getting it away with these illegal some sort of illegal constructions. I think many things have changed in terms of regulations and public awareness. But in Izmir, for example, a couple of years ago when we experienced the earthquake, we saw that these failures have led to loss of lives. And I think in this whole region, with 10 provinces being affected, it is another issue that we see has played negative role in the collapse of the buildings.
All right. The managing editor of Daily Sabah, Mehmet Çelik, thank you so much for your contributions. Let's bring in our editor-at-large, Yusuf Erim, who's in the studio with me today. Yusuf, you experienced the 1999 earthquake, and you're here today kind of following the latest developments coming out from the south of Turkey. How do you feel?
Well, I mean, just looking at it, when I first heard this morning, I woke up, it was probably around 5:30 a.m., hearing a 7.4 magnitude earthquake. The first thing that came to my mind was 1999, and I remember the tremendous power of that earthquake. I remember